So they couldn't have changed anymore, right? They go from, the 72-year-old to nearly a teenager, 36-year-old Mike Macdonald, a guy that you know a little bit from his year as a D coordinator there at Michigan, and a guy that you've seen obviously have a ton of success in Baltimore as their D coordinator. I love that word identity. And as you spit that word out, and Pete didn't know it then, and we don't know exactly what this is going to be with a first-time head coach, but if you were to put the pieces together with his background and what you do know of Mike Macdonald, what do you expect the identity of this 2024 and beyond Seahawk team to look like under his leadership?
Great question, but I don't think it's going to change very much. They're going to just try and road grade, dominate the line of scrimmage, and play tough defense, and try to limit the turnovers on offense, make the plays down the. I don't think it's going to change very much, to be honest with you. But who knows? I do not know. It's the NFL. Things change. People may surprise you. But I honestly feel like they should be better on offense. That's for sure. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba is insanely talented, and the team barely scratched the surface on what he could do. Running the ball is going to be another forte for them, clearly. And I don't think it's going to change very much. The only question is how long does Geno have the gig there, and what's going to be the next step? Should that be Seattle's plan to maybe move on in short order? I don't think Penix is going to be available for them when they draft. I don't believe.
Really?
Yeah, I think Penix will be gone way before. I think Penix will have a shorter night than people expect him to have in Detroit. I wouldn't be surprised if he turns out to be a Raider. It'll be fascinating to see what happens if he's available at 12 for Denver. It all depends, obviously, where J.J. McCarthy goes. My colleague, NFL Network's Daniel Jeremiah, said in his latest mock draft he thinks the Vikings move up to 4 to get McCarthy, which would lead Penix to sit on the board for a whole host of quarterback needy teams to go get. So I don't know, but my long-winded answer now, I think it just comes down to McDonald coming from the Harbaugh mentality, from the Ravens mentality, and obviously that dovetails a lot with what Pete did.
Rich, Brock had asked you about restraining yourself during all the Michigan Wolverines at the Combine, but we heard you talking about Penix, and it sounds like you essentially fell in love at the Combine. I mean, he was tremendous, and I know you were super interested in watching him there. If he goes before the Seahawks pick at 16 and the other 4, including McCarthy, go before 16, if you're the Seahawks and you do think you need a quarterback and you're not sold on Geno long-term, would you consider Bo Nix at that spot, or do you think that they've found something in Sam Howell that is enough to keep them from needing to draft a quarterback in this draft?
Yeah, I think Sam Howell's addition takes the pressure off them of trying to find a quarterback now. I mean, Sam Howell has an entire year's worth of experience now in his repertoire, and also he got his ass beat. I mean, I thought he was impressive at times, and we just in the NFL, it's just like if you don't flash like Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow right off the bat, you're officially garbage and a bust. I mean, it's kind of getting crazy right now. I had Jared Goff on my show during the year, and I asked him, I'm like, you're the perfect person to ask. How long do you think a quarterback should get for, to marinate and to prove his worth in the NFL? A highly drafted quarterback or any quarterback, how long do you think you should get? And he said 4 to 5 years. And in the NFL these days, I mean, I'm having Kurt Warner on my show today, and, I had this whole conversation with him in London last year when we were with the Titans and Vrabel. We just sat down with Vrabel for the broadcast, Ravens and Titans. And I asked Vrabel towards the end, I'm like, how's Will Levis looking? And he shrugged. He's like, your guess is as good as mine because we don't get the practice reps for him. Like, he doesn't get the reps, and we don't have the time for the reps. And the way the NFL works these days is the feeder system is college football. There's no, the spring leagues are kind of back now. We'll see how legit that is in terms of developing quarterbacks. I mean, the Europe League and all that is gone, and that's what Kurt Warner had to get him ready for his, life-changing moment that they made a movie out of when Trent Green went down. And he said without all of that development, he would never have been ready for that moment. So quarterbacks are like coming out of college. They don't get a ton of reps. Right now, like if Sam Howell was still on the Commanders, they would not be able to have him in the building right now for the new head coach and for Cliff Kingsbury to coach him up. Right now, Seattle does not have their hands physically on Sam Howell until April, and that's just the way it works. So that's my long-winded way of saying if Sam Howell's the guy this year for Seattle and they don't draft one, it's not like Sam Howell's trash and that he has no chance of becoming a really good quarterback in this league or a playoff winning or a Super Bowl winning one. I mean, Justin Fields right now, the whole conversation is look at the bag of balls that Chicago got in return for Justin Fields. So that is the way for the NFL to show that they feel Justin Fields is less than or not a starting quarterback in this league. It's just a crazy way of evaluating quarterbacks now in our world. So if Penix is not there at 16, Seattle will have a whole host of really, really terrific football players to choose from, whether it's offensive line, wide receiver, whether it's some of the defenders that are out there in this draft. Because if the way the top of the draft goes, mock way in reality, the first defender may not be off the board until pick 7 or 8. I mean, Atlanta might be able to just stick and stay and get their choice of any defensive player in the draft. And that just keeps pushing more and more talented players down for Seattle to choose from best available. So if it is Sam Howell backing up Geno, then that's not that bad. And Bo Nix might be available on night 2. So let's see how that one plays out.
Penix is so intriguing. We bring scouts on here and Matt Miller and other guys like, he's second round. Lance Zierlein, he's probably going to be a second round. Most of the conversation, at least from the scouting guys, have been a whole bunch of second rounds still on Michael Penix. I think you're the first one on these airwaves here in this town that got people pretty darn excited. Is that what you are hearing, or is that just your gut and your experience of doing this for so long with Michael being not available at 16?
I will go gut and experience on that one. I just know quarterbacks get pushed up. And listen, I know he's 24 and I know he's got an injury history. And I know it's just like, well, he was talented in Indiana, but he didn't look the way, he looked in Indiana that he did in Washington. And again, it's just a development of quarterbacks. I'll tell you this, man. He scared me on national championship night. Him and Rome Odunze scared me. And I think Penix got a taste of what it's going to be like to play in the NFL when he played Michigan's defense, to be honest with you. And he probably saw coverages he's never seen, and that caused him to struggle. But I think, pre-snap, neck up, this kid is really, really sharp. And that's what you need in the NFL. That's what you need. And then throwing the ball, nobody threw it like him at the combine. That's for damn sure. I mean, everything looked like I might have even said it on the air. Like he's going to be a perfect NFL Films quarterback because that spiral is tight, and they'll zoom straight in on that one because it spins when it comes out of his hand in a way it just doesn't out of so many others. And I'm not, some sort of scout or an expert. I could just tell it when I see it how it looks different, and it did. And I don't know him. I've never met him. I've heard only great things about him when it comes to that. And so you put it all together, and if you need a quarterback and you see what you see on tape and you're really impressed by what you see in person and the coaching staff falls in love, that's how you're not a second round pick. That's how you go the first night.